I've not spoken for a long time in public, so this might be a little bit rusty. I'll just put that out there now. So who am I? I don't know how to use this, so I think I'll give up in a minute. Ooh, no. Give me 1 second. I'm suddenly at the end. I'm going to present via memes. I can't get this. Can I have a... Oh, I told you it was going to be rusty. How do I get so I can move my slides? I've just gone straight to the end.
Oh, have you? All right, okay. Is it not what you're using? Oh, what's that then?
Yeah, go. Can I key them that way? Oh, even better. Yeah, perfect. Right, okay. Sorry. Who am I? I'm Rosie Anderson. I do not work in tech. I work in recruitment. And I've been doing that for 2 decades, despite my slightly hungover baby face. The last 7 years, I've worked in cybersecurity recruitment. So over the past 2 decades, I've helped hundreds of people get jobs in either tech or cyber. I'm head of industry mentoring for Caps Lock, which I volunteer to do. Caps Lock's a boot camp. I'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. I'm a working parent. I've got 2 kids. So I'm an advocate for flexible working for people, not just parents, but for everybody. And I'm a retired party girl. So last night I might have been a party girl, but not today. So I'm going to do this talk in 2 halves. I'm going to talk about hacking your career for 10 minutes. And you can then ask questions, and then I'm going to talk about how to hire and how to hack that recruitment process. So feel free to ask me questions. So you want to work in cyber. So I'm going to aim this at people who are new to the industry. So saying you want to work in cyber is like saying you want to work in science. The field is so broad. So if that's what you want to do, you think, right, I do want to find out what this sexy cybersecurity is all about. You need to start thinking about what areas of cyber you want to work in. And what's your motivations, what you kind of enjoy, so you can find the right path. There's so much free resources out there. If you go onto YouTube and watch the Crest Day in a Life, you can watch the day in the life of a pen tester, the day in the life of a red teamer, and you can get some insights as to all the different types of roles in cyber. So before you kind of go out networking with people, have a bit of an idea so you can really help people pinpoint the advice that they give to you. There's so much more to life than just being a pen tester or being a SOC analyst. There's so many roles in cybersecurity. If risk is your space, there's so many different opportunities and paths that you can go down. There really is a role for everybody. So there's DevSecOps, there's risk management, there's identity access management, there's building secure systems. We need so many different people in cyber. You can bring transferable skills from anywhere. So like I said, it's really broad. These is just, I'm sure it's probably some more stems since then. So if you were trying to start out in a career and you think, okay, there's lots of people trying to get into cybersecurity, if you look at something like identity access management or cloud security, it's somewhere that you can really sort of, it's not as competitive, or there's not as many people saying, I want to work in that area. So I'm going to have a drink. Okay, so you've decided what you want to do and where you want to work, or you've narrowed it down a little bit. So now we're going to build some technical skills. If you're coming in from a starting point of 0 in terms of technology, like me, you're going to have to start building some technical skills to prove your interest, shall we say. There's so many different opportunities here. I've mentioned Security Plus, Network Plus. You can do some of the Professor Messer training for free to kind of start building that knowledge, and it is something we see on job specs for entry-level candidates. You can go on to try Hack Me, and then as you get a little bit more technical, you can go on to Hack the Box and build out those kind of technical skills. There are boot camps, so Caps Lock is a boot camp, and there's fantastic opportunities to learn in that environment. If you want a training, obviously you can go and get a degree. For me, I would look at a boot camp. So with Caps Lock, you can do it as a student loan. So you don't actually pay anything back and still you're earning more than X amount. There's Discord channels and places where you can start to meet other techies like yourself. So Digital Overdose, Capture the Talent, these are Discords for rookies with experienced people in as well. I've put Simply Cyber there. They've got a really good entry, I think it's Master Risk Analyst, where you pay what you can. And it's really, really good content to start building upon that knowledge. The advantage with all of these sort of labs that you can do on Rangeforce, and you get a shiny certificate. And with that shiny certificate, that's something that you can put on your CV. So when you're applying for a job, they can see that you are actually doing some self-study on your own and you like to learn. So we've built some technical skills, and then we're going to build some professional skills. So what I would recommend doing is, I'm going to start again. Any good pen tester knows that you can pwn the box and get domain admin, but actually now you've got to write a report. So these are the professional skills that everybody sort of is going to need. So if you want to be a pen tester, when you've hacked the box or whatever you've pwned, you then need to do a write-up about that. If you do that sort of write-up, as though you're describing what you've done with a walkthrough, you're practicing those technical skills. And then if you do a write-up as an executive summary of what you've done, these are things that you can put in your portfolio and you can share on social media, share on LinkedIn, that shows your knowledge and your passion. It's, again, something that's showing that although you don't necessarily have technical experience already, this is what you've been doing. I think one of the really good things with the rise of Discords and things like that is you can find a community like here, like at B-Sides. I don't know if B-Sides has a Discord, but you can find a community of people who want to help you learn and build upon those technical skills and start writing that blog. That is one of the ways that you're going to get a role, an entry-level role, and make yourself sort of known. Now, I know for some people, they don't really like LinkedIn, or they feel a bit scared about sharing your first things. I would say, you're at B-Sides here now, you're networking. Networking on LinkedIn is not scary. It's way less scary than speaking to strangers in person. So, let's hack your career. You've done all these things. You see a job advertised on LinkedIn or wherever. Don't just apply for that job. That's what everybody's doing. Contact the hiring manager. Figure out who's going to be the hiring manager there. Figure out if you know somebody who works for that company. So if company X, if National Grid is hiring for a SOC analyst, go and speak to somebody that you know at National Grid. Ask them about the culture. Ask them why they're a great place to work. You're socially engineering your way into speaking to that person who's potentially the hiring manager. Network with people at all levels. Network with people who are doing the job that you want to do, and ask them, how did you start? What would you do if you were back in that position? These are the sorts of things, like I say, if you're networking on LinkedIn before that job's advertised and you're doing all these posts of what you're learning and the journey that you're on, you should then get notified about opportunities before you even before they go live to market. This is how I would get my first job if I was in that situation. I am obviously a recruiter. Chances are you're not going to get your first job through a recruiter like me, because a business won't necessarily want to pay a fee, because they pay fees to recruitment agencies for hiring talent. Now, the only thing I will say is if you want to be a SOC analyst, go and speak with Rene and Tarzo. That's all he does. That's all he recruits for, and he helps lots of businesses build SOCs. Any questions? Sorry, it's very hot up here. Oh, sorry. Yeah?
Do you find that any companies are offering apprenticeships for 16, 17-year-olds coming out of school now rather than going through traditional educational routes?
Yes, there's a level 4 apprenticeship, I think, in cyber. So one of the people that I placed without a degree in a consultancy, actually, she'd done that apprenticeship. And I think apprenticeships, yeah, we do see it. They don't necessarily come to a recruitment agency. And it's one of the things I recommend to customers and say, when you're hiring talent, it shouldn't just be experienced talent. It should be all these different routes. What we also find is, I think where the thing with apprenticeships, even apprenticeships are heavily competitive. So I'm pretty sure there was a guy at an automotive finance company shared they wanted to hire an apprentice. But even people coming out of school or university, they're not being given this advice. They're just applying for jobs. And I think even at that sort of level, you need to be doing something to make yourself stand out. And not necessarily, you don't have to have technical experience, but even apprenticeships are really heavily competed, I think. Competed, is that the word? In cyber.
Any other questions? Because I've fixed the mic.
No?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You always get the best teams when you get a diverse
Yeah.
workforce. How do we encourage people from non-traditional backgrounds to apply for jobs in cyber?
Oh, tough one.
Pizza.
Yeah. I think a lot of companies will allow or should be allowing their staff to go out and do STEM outreach. So there's plenty of STEM events. I actually think we are getting more diversity in terms of degrees. I think that's starting to turn the corner. But actually going out and hunting for that talent, where if you want to hire apprentices, going out to the colleges and saying, hey, we're hiring, or going out on LinkedIn. You know, so many jobs are found on LinkedIn, and saying, does anybody have a teenager or child, or can anybody recommend? And normally it is those sort of networks. I think what B-Sides do fantastic is they have careers tracks for kids, and they have, you know, it's a friendly environment. Steelcon does the same, don't they? But it shouldn't just be about kids. It should be about everybody. And there's a big push to reskill the workforce. So Capstock, again, they're reskilling people in cyber, and that's what we need. Well, if you're hiring, if you're company X, sorry, I'm going to use National Grid again because you're there. If you're National Grid, you should be going out to people within your business to say, the IT team is crying out, or the cyber team is crying out for people. Is anybody interested? Doing meetups, like meetups. I know Ladies Hacking Society is fantastic to get with meetups and things like that. But just sharing the knowledge, like that, again, this is why B-Sides are fantastic. Sharing the knowledge of what we're doing, and it's not just, you know, IT network room, and it's not cyber with the hoodie. Sort of bringing the people alive of what we're doing. I hope that answered it. I'm regretting drinking last night.
Just one comment on the last one. Sponsor a table at a B-Sides and have your team there saying they're recruiting. I've done it at 2 events. And some really good candidates from diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost a lot.
And I'm sure B-Sides definitely always need more sponsors.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All conferences, not just B-Sides, but yes. Lots of people need extra bodies, and this is a nice way to meet people. So remember, introduce yourself to the people sitting next to you.
Yeah. And it's easier on LinkedIn. Right, I'm going to do the second half now. So this is for people who are hiring, and my advice and what I've learned. So again, I've been hiring for 2 decades. I've been here for a long time doing this. I'll just start there. Let's start with your job description. So your job description should be what you want from the candidate and what they need to do, what they're going to be doing day to day. What's a typical day look like? What we see with job descriptions in recruitment is we get a job description and it's normally got a date stamp and it's about 4 years old. Now, let's be honest, the role will have changed in the last 4 years. So the hiring manager should write the job description and fair enough then give it to HR to put whatever tools that they do to make it HR-y. But then go and speak to the people in your teams and say, is this right? So we had this once in recruitment where people were coming in and thinking, and this was the previous company I worked at, people were coming in thinking the job was going out and meeting people and all of this, which it is, the more senior you get. But when you start, you're on the phone speaking to people, there's no face-to-face contact. But it was in the job description that that's what it was. So there was a misalignment. Your job description, try and take out all of the things, really question, do I need a degree? That's my first question to a hiring manager if they put a degree on there. Degree or equivalent. There's plenty of other equivalent experience than having a degree. Does it have to be X amount of years of this? And I see all of the time, and we place people all of the time that don't match all those things on the job spec. If it's on there, you're going to be putting people off. Now, your job description is not your job advert. Your job advert is why they should come and work for you. So why are you a great employer? Why do your workforce love working for you? Why, why should somebody come and pick your job? Don't put on your job advert desirable skills because it will put people off. As a female, there's statistics that back this up. I will only apply if I hit 70% of that criteria. Now, I will also say apply if you hit 30%. As a man, you'll apply if you hit 40 to 50%. There's some statistics around the back of that. So think about when you're advertising, definitely don't advertise any desirable skills. You can use that as part of your interviewing process. If you ask your current staff, why do you like working here? And they can't answer, recruitment's going to be in your future. So these are things to sort of look at. Now, stop asking for X when you mean Y. So if we see a job spec that says, I'm trying to think of a perfect example. Had one in my hand. I'm going to go through some good job specs in a second. If we see a job description with this massive wish list, let's just call it what it is. Do you really need that technical skill? Do you need this scene tool, or can it be any scene tool? But let's widen out to try and make a job spec actually reflect the job. So many times I see a job spec that's got, well, I look at it, it's like, that's 2 jobs, or that's 3 jobs. Like, let's really narrow down what we're hiring for. And then show the salary. And if you say to me, we can't advertise the salary because our current staff will get upset, again, I'm probably going to be speaking to them staff soon. Advertise your salary or put a range. Now, I do get some people can't do this for whatever reason, but you'll get 76% more applicants if you advertise the salary. Many a time I speak to a candidate who says, I saw that job advert, but I didn't know what the salary was, so I wasn't going to apply. But yeah, I'll apply through you, Rosie, as a recruiter, because I can advertise salaries. Same for benefits. What are the benefits? What are the real benefits? Don't just say you get a pension. What's the percentage? You get a bonus. What does it look like? Please do this, and it will help. It will help you so much. So some really good job adverts. So what you should be doing as well with your job adverts, like this guy did. He's the CISO. This is a live role. He's hiring. He's shared it to say no anybody who's interested. Now, what I love about this, we're not looking for certifications or years of experience. Hooray! And remote or at one of our offices or a mixture, you choose. He has massively increased his talent pool because he's put that. Now, when I clicked on the job, the salary is on the job. It's not put it on his post. And the benefits are there. And that's actually quite a decent benefit thing. He's not saying you get 20 days holiday. That's the minimum you can give somebody. So many different things. And he's talked about maternity and paternity pay. So again, he's showing that a really good company that's got some decent benefits. Now this one is so this is Glenn at Skybet sent me this. This isn't a live job, but again, he's got a salary banding, which is quite a wide banding, and he's got some really good benefits. But he also talks about the team's goal is lots of decent things in there, which isn't just a list of technical skills and doesn't bring it to life. I also, again, love the flexibility. It opens up your talent pool. Now, interviewing. Anybody that you interview, you should give feedback to. If they're giving up their time to come and interview with you, even if it's a no, you should give some constructive feedback. Because that person, say it is a newbie, and the person you had, you did a really good interview, we thought your skills in X, Y, or Z were excellent, but the person we hired, we felt was a better fit. Where I think you could develop in the future, if you focus on learning more about Linux or Active Directory, then come back to me in 6 months' time. That's constructive feedback. You should have taken notes during an interview anyway, so you should be able to give them something, or at least, very least, tell them it's a no. And the amount of people that I speak to that don't get interview feedback, that person will never come and work for you again. And when they get that first job, you might want to hire them in 6 months' time. So anything you can do to show that you're a decent person, to be honest, will help you when you're coming to recruit. Now, you've interviewed your person. I told you there were some good memes. You've interviewed your person, and they've got a 12-week notice period, which is normal for a senior person. You need to be speaking to them really regularly, because just because you've offered them doesn't mean that all the other interviews they had aren't still hounding them. It doesn't mean that their current employer's not gone, oh shit, we're going to lose this person, let's offer them 10 grand more, or that promotion that they wanted. And all the way through that process, all the way through that onboarding period before they actually start with your company, one thing you could do is get somebody within the team to start reaching out to them, invite them to any socials that you do, invite them to meet the team, come for lunch with the team, because that's a long period for you to still lose somebody. It's not a done deal until they start. So that onboarding process, and sometimes it does feel like it can take 2 years, think about what you can do to already make them feel like they're within your business. Any questions? Sorry. Can't see. Yep.
I know.
Oh, mic problems.
Okay, question. Hey!
It's really bright up here. Yeah.
Hi. Just wondering what you're seeing in the industry at the moment. I keep hearing that it's hard to recruit, or it's an employee's environment at the moment, and employees market and stuff.
Yep.
Like what are you seeing?
So it is wild. I'm seeing onboarding, sign-on bonuses. I'm seeing, particularly for experienced staff, there is a war on talent. I do have some data. If anyone wants salary data, just message me with how much the salaries are rising. So, for example, network security salaries in the last 6 months have risen 25% of what people are advertising. And it's different in different locations, but I've got those sorts of stats and things. And I think we are, whether or not we're heading into a recession, probably won't get political. I don't think that's going to make a problem at all with cyber staff. There's still more threats. There's still that struggle to get good people. What I see is there are lots of jobs out there, but there's lots of processes that make it difficult to hire. And if you're already in work, which is talent that people come to me to find, you're not out there looking for a job. So if you are hiring, it should be down to you and your recruitment partners to be in the industry and finding the best people for the job. Now, the best person for the job might not even know about you. And that's where you do need headhunters for experienced staff. I think there's so much good going on to get more people in, and like B-Sides, Ladies Hacking Society, there's so much to get the interest, and these community events need help. If you can volunteer or give some time or speak at these sorts of things, or like Caps Lock, we have people who come and talk to us as mentors, or come and be a guest speaker, and then they can go and hire from that diverse talent pool. It's not easy. That's why I think I've done this talk before and I've called it talent attraction. It's not hard, is it? It is hard. It's easy to drop the ball somewhere, which is where you have to think about it. It's not just stick an advert out and that's hope for the best kind of thing. Everybody who goes through that experience with your company, who's has a touch point at some point with your company through that recruitment process, that's your impression you're giving in the market. And it's very easy to get a bad name against yourself if you're not nice to candidates or you're not a great place to work. I think what I am seeing, and one of the first things I do say to people is, if you are looking to leave, so with recruitment, one of the things I see is the reason people are looking to leave is because they're not getting promotion opportunities or experience with the experience that they want within their current company. And actually, I think that's a mistake that companies make. You need to be looking at your current staff and saying, okay, the pandemic has reset everybody's expectations. What was right before isn't now. How can we keep you? What can we give you as like a promotion opportunity? So can you give somebody help? Can you get them to help in the recruitment process? Can they buddy with somebody to get some experience before they're ready to be a team leader? And the companies that invest well and do bring in junior talent, you can see how fast they grow because they are investing in people.
Rosie, do you not want people to have terrible job or experiences so they want to then move and contact you?
No.
One more question over here for you.
I'll move into the light so you can see me.
Yeah,
sorry, I sneaked in at the end of the session, but one thing I was wondering, you may have covered it already, but do you think that recruiters put in place enough support to deal and cater for the neurodivergent community yet? Because that's quite prevalent within our industry.
So I think in cyber, I feel there is a lot of support out there. There's resources. There's lots of information out there to how to hire and how to attract neurodivergent talent. It's not one size fits all. If you're working with a recruitment agency, you should let them know if there's any adjustments you need. And I think where we get like the CTF events and things like that, if we want to hone in on people who've got technical skills, that's something that you can do as a way to assess people's talent without the CV. I feel with like Autocon and Emma Philpott's company, can't think what it's called at the moment, IASME? Might be IASME. There is support and there's ways that you can tap into that talent, but I think neurodiversity is a superpower. It's one of those that if you put sort of two different neurodivergent types of people in a team together, they can complement each other with the different skills. But I think if you want to hire that type of talent, maybe look at technical assessments rather than face-to-face interviews. Eye contact can sometimes be a struggle for people. There's things that you can do to make your recruitment process more tailored if that's the type of talent that you want to tap into. Yeah.
There we go.
Pardon? Have I gone over? Probably.
No, there is, there is. So here we go.
Cheers. Hiya. A few of us were talking yesterday, and we were saying how one of the things we sometimes prioritise is team fit over skills because you can teach skills. So, do you have any tips on providing feedback to somebody you don't think is going to fit well with your team? Because sometimes that can be a struggle to how to positively give them feedback of, don't be too full of yourself, whatever, you know what I mean?
I do sometimes get, you might need to give a person some pointers on this, and this. I think what you're better off doing is giving that message in a positive way. You can say the person that we hired had this, and this. Something to work on for your next interview might be this. Or if you've got a recruitment partner, get them to deliver the message. I think it's better to be honest with a person. Like you turned up late for the interview, the amount of people that we have to say that to, or you didn't put your camera on a video call or a video interview. But sometimes actually if they don't know they're doing something wrong, how can they fix it? And they're better off having that message then, because that will help them in the long run. They might be a little bit pissed off at getting that message, but temporary pissed offness, but you get a job later on when you take on board the positive criticism. I would say deliver the message, or get your HR or recruiter to deliver the message.
Yeah, don't just say, oh, it's not a good fit, because that doesn't help anyone. And it's a wussy way of getting out of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
How are you seeing things change towards remote work or away from remote work is what I'm starting to see. I think we must have you in X days in the office. Yeah. And you must be within X distance.
I used to see that all the time, and the pandemic has really reset things. There is no one size fits all, and you shouldn't do like the same with inside IR35 blanket assessments. You shouldn't just go, this is what we're doing. We are seeing more hybrid working and clients requesting that. And I will say to them, okay, do they need to be in the office one day a week? Has it got to be a certain day, or how flexible it is? But I also see, particularly, so we do tech and cyber with software developers, Company X has now mandated that you've got to be in the office. Company X's employees are all replying to my messages that they've not replied to for however long. So it is a risk. But if you actually approach it as a sensible conversation with your staff and say, right, IT team, do you want to be in the office? What works for you? Right, that's you. Sales team, accounts team. Shouldn't just be the whole company now does this. Because it's like anything. You approach a blanket assessment to it all, you're going to alienate and you're going to shrink that talent pool. So, it's hot up here.
So I notice if we coordinate the order in which we put our hands up, someone has to run quite a lot.
Is that something you're doing on purpose?
You mentioned how much more interest you get from a posting when the salary is listed.
Yeah.
What conversations can you have within an organisation when that's something that your talent acquisition folks are resistant to? Are there ways of having that conversation that you know of?
I understand sometimes why people don't do it. They don't want the salary bandings known because, I hear regular arguments for not doing it. But the evidence is there with how many more applications you get. And I think it depends who owns the recruitment process. Is it HR? Is it the hiring manager? If you keep having the same conversation and keep talking and communicating, hopefully you can get to the bottom as to why. And if it is about internal salaries, people know it anyway. What you can do if it is a problem, so we have one customer who will say to us, you're not allowed to advertise salaries. And I'll kind of go back and go, really? I know what I'm doing. Okay. Well, we won't advertise the salary, but talk to us about it. If you have a conversation with us, we'll then discuss the salary banding. So that's one way you can potentially get it around. But yeah, just keep having that conversation and keep trying to batter them into submission.
Could someone further away ask a question just so Dave can run a bit further?
I am going to be around after as well if nobody gets time or you want to come and speak to me afterwards.
Hi. Just a question about any advice, like you say, being a working parent, and if you're seeing more accommodation from businesses with flexible work, and just think how it is tough to either reduce your hours as a working parent or make up hours. And even though lots of, especially in tech, it's quite can be flexible work and not time pressured sometimes, it's still tough. This quite old-fashioned view of you've got your 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because you say about sometimes like working school hours and stuff, didn't you say? So just any advice or if you're seeing anything?
So companies that do it really well will kind of go, look, you're the professional. As long as the deliverables are hit, I don't care how you do it. And if you have that type of organisation or team where you're trusting your team to get the job done, doesn't matter what hours they do. Now, obviously, it's not going to work in a SOC or in a 24/7 environment. But if that's a benefit, that is a massive benefit that should be on your job adverts when you're going out, because you will open up the talent pool. It's 100%. And it's not just working parents, it's people with caring responsibilities. It's anybody. If somebody says to you, I don't care what hours you do, as long as you do 8 hours at some point over the day or 40 hours over the week or whatever it is, that's a massive perk. So I am probably unemployable, which is now why I work for myself, because I work school hours and then I work in the evening. Now that doesn't suit everybody. If you have Asia stakeholders, you're probably going to work at 7 a.m. till 3. Don't sort of think about your environment and then think about the benefits of that. And again, if you speak to your staff and they say, I love working here because you don't give a shit if I'm not online at 9 o'clock, or that's a perk that you need to go out into your job adverts with, to say, we're the type of environment where you can do this, we trust you to get your job done. It's not about presenteeism, which is why we don't care if you're in the office. But so many times I see a job advert, and when I speak to them, it's like, oh yeah, you don't have to be in the office. Why have you advertised it as London then? Like, it's these sorts of things that you can do to massively open up that talent pool. And flexible working is something that's here to stay and will open up for you different types of people.
Thank you. I was just wondering, what do you find most frustrating about the recruitment industry?
I do love it. Job offers. So when you're offering a candidate and you've been through that process and say they want 50k as an example, and you offer them 45, the first thing I'll say to you is, really? If you offer them 45 and they say no, and we're going to go back to 50, you've put a seed of doubt in that person's mind who's changing jobs. That seed of doubt, if somebody else offers them 50 that you've eventually got to, they're going to go there. Don't lowball just to try and save a couple of grand. offer people what they want and what they're worth. If you say, I'm going to offer you 45, but if you do this cert and this cert and this cert, which I'll pay for, then you can get to here. Do it that way, but don't just lowball to save like a couple of grand on the agency spend or whatever.
Any other quote? You did actually have a question. Thank you for waiting until I was across the side, though.
Everybody gets disappointed when they don't get a job, but what's the flags that go they've actually had a lucky escape for not getting the job, in your opinion?
Oh, so many. They don't get any feedback. If you get offered a job and you think, I've only had one interview, I want to speak to some of the team. There's no reason why you can't say, can I have like an informal chat with who I'm going to work with? And if they won't do that, or they're not very accommodating through that process, that's a red flag for me. We do hear of places where there's toxic cultures, toxic management. You can normally start to glean if you're going to get on with the person who's interviewing you in that interview. And if there's no time for you to ask questions, or it's like a one-sided thing, it's they're ticking the box for if you fit with them, that for me is a red flag. It needs to be, changing jobs is a career decision. It's a big decision. So many times we hear, I need to speak to my partner. And it's because it can be a life-changing decision to move. If you're going to move for a different role, different things, it affects so many parts of your life. So if you're not getting an opportunity to ask those sorts of questions, or there's something normally in that interview which will give you a sign that this might not be great, go on Glassdoor, have a look at companies. It's not really funny, but it makes me smile. There's a company on Glassdoor, and I think one of the reviews is, the management is like a cancer in this company. And I'm like...
There's more than one of them.
And speak to people, like have a look on LinkedIn and look at recent leavers. If all of the SOC team have suddenly left, they've probably made everyone go back in the office, or things like that.
Hiring managers, you should always have a meet the team part of the interview process, because this person's going to have to work with them. So yeah, definitely. If you... Oh,
I did that yesterday.
Fired. Am I off? No, not off. Okay, you're fired. One more. Yeah.
There's lots of organisations that need to do significant change with their IT systems at the moment, and the ransomware threat isn't going away anytime soon because of the people higher up the organisation, and their inability to fundamentally change what they've had for years. How do you sell the people into the job that they know is going to be arduous horribleness?
I don't do it. I won't work with
needs to actually be different.
Oh, okay. So be honest. Okay, we need to change culture in this team. We're hiring, obviously maybe not put all of that in the job advert, but we're hiring somebody who can come in and make real change. That will be an interesting challenge for somebody. If it's we need to rip out a system, and you can't polish a turd. You get a contract to come in and do it. You just need to be honest about what it is, because if you catfish a candidate to come and work in an environment and it's not what you say, they're not going to last for long. You're better off looking at, there's multiple different types of talent. There's contractors. There's people who enjoy coming in and dealing with conflict and sorting things out. That's a different skill set to a technical person who needs to deal with security architecture and design something brand new in critical national infrastructure. Just be honest about what you actually need, would be my advice there.
Okay. A round of applause for Rosie.
Woo!